welcome to another edition of Coffee with a Coach. Today I'm joined by Clarkson women's ice hockey head coach Matt Desrosiers. Coach, thanks for jumping on.
I appreciate you having me.
Very exciting to talk to you after the weekend that you guys had. Two big wins in the league and leading right into your final exam break and sending everybody home for a little refreshing. How big was it to get off on the right note or leave on the right note with that last couple games?
Yeah, that was something we had a conversation about before last weekend, is just, ending this semester on a good note and, playing hopefully some of our best hockey. And, I thought we did a pretty good job this weekend, just kind of putting things together. And like I said, like we were able to kind of get off on a good note there and send the players home after exams. Hopefully when they come back, they're refreshed, the batteries are recharged, and we can hit the ground running once they get back on campus.
And obviously with those two wins over Harvard and Dartmouth, 10 goals to 1, outscoring your opponent. Besides one game against Maine, you had an 8-1 win, a 1-0 win, 5-1, 5-0 in your last 5. Defensively and goaltending wise, you seem to have locked it down, and now the offense has really started to come along.
Yeah, that's something we've talked about a lot within our team, and something we've worked on quite a bit, both on the offensive side and the defensive side. We've seen some games that might be a little bit up and down for what's typical for us. 5-4 games, 8-1 games, 4-0 games, 1-0 games. We've had a few of those too. So a little bit all over the place, but at the same time, it's good to know that you have a team that's able to compete and win different types of games, because that's what happens, when the big moments come. You never know how it's going to be. You got to be able to win different ways, if you want to be successful. So that's something that our team's shown that we've been able to do. So it's just kind of, for us right now, it's just kind of tightening things up a little bit. And, the last couple of weeks, I think we've done that.
And your goaltender, Michelle Pasechnik, has done a really good job. She was our weekly MAC goaltender of the week. She's won that a couple times. Gabrielle David was on the Inside ECAC Hockey podcast that came out yesterday, and she talked about her weekend. Have you had a player? I mean, you've had some really good players. Have you had a player score a hat trick with a shorty, a power play, and an even strength?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. That's a good question. I'll have to get our SID on that one. Until you just said that, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
Either. That's a pretty good feat right there.
Not to give Josh more work to do. I know he's a busy man, but yeah, she had, 2 breakaway goals, 1 shorthanded, power play, even strength. And the last goal, watching those highlights, that was pretty from start to finish. She had it on the back end of the neutral zone, got it across the ice, couple passes to the back door. As a coach myself at a different level, I like that clip to just pull and say, here you go. Here's a neutral zone. Here's an entry. Here's a net drive. And as a coach, to see your players put it together like that, it's got to be rewarding.
Yeah, no question about it. Whenever you kind of work on things and then all of a sudden your players are able to execute it come game time, it's one thing to do it in practice and work on it, and there's not a lot of pressure and all that stuff. But once they're able to kind of execute it within a game, at the speeds that they're able to execute, obviously it's pretty special. But at the same time, sometimes they make plays that you don't work on and stuff like that, and you're just kind of amazed by too. And then we've been fortunate to have some pretty good players through our history of our program and that. And sometimes you see some things in practice and games that you're just kind of in awe of. So that's just kind of the fan in me as well, just being able to enjoy some of the creativity that these players have.
Yeah, I still can't believe part of my job is to go through highlights of these hockey clips every week and find the best ones, because it really doesn't feel like a job at times. So it's nice to see some of that come through. And you guys are no strangers.
You get to look at all the good stuff. We have to look at some of the bad stuff too.
I literally will sit for an hour, just click through every goal clip from the whole weekend to pick out the top plays. It's not bad. It's like your own highlight reel.
Yeah.
But so you've been no stranger to success, obviously 10, 20 win seasons or more, 5-30 win seasons in your last 8 years. And obviously, my background changed up this week, going out of the office and into a real coffee shop for Coffee with a Coach. Your background's a little shinier with those national championship trophies. 3 of those in your time here and 2 more Frozen Fours. What has been the key to your sustained success, especially in a league that has continued to grow and get so tough?
Yeah, it's There's a lot of things that go into that. No question about it. Year after year, you have to keep kind of rebuilding. You have to reinvent yourself too. If you're not growing as a coach and a staff, you're going to kind of get left behind. And I think that was something even when we were having success, winning championships. Even as soon as we were done winning a championship, our coaching staff would get together and we start talking about, okay, how can we be better? What can we do better? We weren't resting on our laurels, but I think the biggest thing is just we had a process, and we knew what we wanted out of this program, and we just kind of stuck to that. And just year after year, we were able to kind of build our way to kind of the successes that we've seen. It definitely wasn't an overnight thing, for sure. Like, this started a long time ago, and I think something that we're probably most proud of is just the sustained success that we've been able to kind of have over the years. You hear a lot of championship coaches and that talk about it's difficult to get to that kind of top of the mountain, the pinnacle, but it's even more difficult to stay there. And once you're kind of you think about it beforehand, you're like, I don't know, it's pretty tough to get there. But once you're kind of thrust into it, it is definitely true. Being able to kind of have that target on your back and be able to kind of sustain some success over the years, that's something that comes with a mindset and buy-in from your players. There's just so much that goes into it, and it goes back from even the teams that were maybe not as successful as some of the ones that won national championships, but they definitely had a part in growing this program, getting the culture to where we wanted it to be, and that's just something that we've kind of built off of over the years.
And then I guess flipping it, obviously not something that people love to talk about, but the COVID year was a year unlike any other. And you were lucky enough to be able to play a season, but then had to play Colgate 10 times in a year. No one should have to play Colgate 10 times in a year ever. But what was that experience? Maybe not even on the ice, but as a coach with a group of players that obviously wants to play and obviously so much going on and used to success and having to battle so many hurdles, what was that like, and how did it end up making you better in the long run?
Yeah, it was. There's no question it was the most difficult year that I've had as a coach, and um, I can't imagine what it was like for the student athletes as well. Just with all the policies and the restrictions and everything going on, it just made things pretty difficult. And the biggest thing too, and I'm not very good at this. I've kind of learned to deal with it a little bit over my time. I'm not a very patient person, um, but it's something that comes with the job. You got to have a little bit of patience in that. But trying to instill that in your student athletes in a time where things were constantly changing every day, and it wasn't just little things that were changing. There was a lot of things that were changing and going on, and we weren't sure if we were going to have a season. We weren't sure if the Ivy League teams were going to play or not. So there was a lot of uncertainty that was going on, and it even went back to when COVID first started, um, because when everything kind of got shut down, we were on a plane to Wisconsin for an NCAA game, and as soon as we landed in Wisconsin, we found out that the game was canceled. So we pretty much flew out to Wisconsin, had a nice steak dinner, got back on a plane the next morning, came home, and everyone had to get off campus like immediately because everything got shut down. So there were some of our players that weren't even able to come back and get their stuff on campus, and so it was a really difficult time. And you talk to different coaches, and I think no matter whether your team played during COVID or didn't play, everyone's had their own difficulties within that. I see coaches that their teams didn't play, and they said, "Oh, I wish we could have played," and that. And then you have some coaches where you talk to them that their team were fortunate enough to play, and they think about it the other way. They're almost like, you know what, I almost wish we didn't play because of some of the stuff that went on during the season and the things that you had to try and manage. So it was just a difficult situation for everyone, and not just in hockey. Like, obviously you saw it, it was a world thing. And it's crazy to think of where we were and where we are right now. But I'm certainly glad that we were able to get through it. And you asked, like, what can we take from that? And there's certainly some things that I think were damaging to people, during COVID. And again, not just, with our team or hockey, just everyone in general. And I also think there were some things that came out of it too, like learning how to be a little bit more patient and stuff with things. But I'm definitely glad we're kind of, getting back to normal here. And it's just nice that we were able to kind of get through that and kind of move along, and we're at where we're at right now.
And shifting a little bit now, talk about your career as a player. You're no stranger to the ECAC. 4 years at St. Lawrence, and even being up in the North Country for so long. Most people don't want to go there for a weekend, but you've been up there and you're able to turn it into a hot spot. How much of your time as a player, has aligned with your time as a coach and being in similar area, same league, and what has the ECAC done, to kind of propel your career?
Yeah, certainly. Like you said, I played in the ECAC, and depending on who I'm talking to, I might take a little bit of a ribbing that I played at St. Lawrence for the rival of Clarkson. But for me, it's just I look at it more as, like you said, a North Country thing. I think we have a big rivalry with St. Lawrence, but I also think there's a respect factor as well. Just everyone, respects the fact that we came from the North Country, and we know what it's all about. But as far as my career, yeah, I was able to visit a lot of different schools in that. And I went to some big schools, small schools, schools in cities, schools in rural areas like, St. Lawrence and Clarkson a little bit here. And for me, it was the feeling I got when I got up here, that community feel, that small atmosphere. I'm not a big city guy. I didn't grow up in a big city. I kind of like the slower pace of life with things. So that always stuck with me. And then obviously I met my wife up here too. And, she played at St. Lawrence, and she came over to Clarkson and started the women's program here as an assistant coach. And then things grew on where, her and I took over the reins a little bit as co-head coaches and that. So, the North Country's always been ingrained in us and our family. And it's a great place to raise kids. And, it's always just been good to us, and we have a lot of friends. And I've been able to meet a lot of like colleagues up here too. Like, still my coach from St. Lawrence, Joe Marsh, is still, I would say, one of my mentors, someone that I look up to and keep in touch with. And Paul Flanagan, who just retired this past year, and that he was one of my coaches. He was my wife's coach. So we know him really well, and he's another person that I was able to kind of lean on to kind of grow as a coach too. So just a lot of connections from being up here in the North Country.
And what is for you being up there and having that connection? Uh, is that something that continues to keep you, tuned in is not the word, but you've won 3 national championships, right? Some people may say, all right, what else can you do besides go win another one? Is that connection to that area and now to Clarkson and everything, meeting your wife and having the connection there? How important is that on maybe some of the days and like the COVID year where things aren't that easy, right? And things are a little bit more of a struggle. How's that keep you there?
Yeah, certainly. And again, my wife and I have been here for so long now that we've made a lot of really good friends. And I think that's something that is pretty special about a small community, is that you're always close to friends. It's not like, I have a friend that lives 30 miles across town in a city and it takes me an hour to get there. I literally walk out my door, and I have, a number of friends in our neighborhood and that. And, our SID, Josh Bartel, is our neighbor, and he has an outdoor rink, and our kids go there throughout the winter and that. So it's little things like that, that, even through the tough times, you have so many people that you can rely on and talk to. And, my wife and I just had a newborn a month ago, and, we have so many people that are like around and willing to help us, because we also have two, fairly older kids in 10 and 8, and they're traveling a lot with hockey and everything. So, we're able to kind of utilize our resources and our friends up here, and it just makes life a lot easier.
I'm sure it's not easy to have a newborn in the middle of the hockey season. That was the first time we tried to get you on this show. and you said, "Oh, I'm about to have a kid, so let's try to postpone." How has everything been going with that?
Everything's great. She's treating us really well. She's a great baby. She sleeps at night. Our two kids love her and adore her, and they're a huge help with her too. So it hasn't really been too bad. It hasn't been too much of a struggle.
Only a few months until she gets on Josh Bartel's ice rink, right?
Yeah, no question. For sure.
And then lastly, just before we wrap things up, talking a little bit about the overarching success of your program in terms of the players. You've had so many players to go on at the professional level, the international level, and in turn, the league has as well. And I think a lot of the growth of the women's league to be, in a lot of people's opinion, the best league in the country. A lot of it started with your success nationally with your group, and some of those players now on to incredible things. How great is it for you as a coach to see those players that started with you now going on and really carrying the torch in a lot of ways for women's hockey internationally?
Yeah, no question. It's definitely nice to see, and those players that move on, they support our program really well. They're always coming back. They're talking to our current players, and it's really great that they take a lot of pride in our program. They understand where they came from. They know that Clarkson played a big role in where they're at today, and we were pretty fortunate a couple months back there to uh, honor our 6 Olympians that were in this past Olympics and that with some banners up in the rink. And it was great to have them back on campus and see things and just get to talk to them about certain things that they're doing now and seeing now. And I've been fortunate enough to, work with Hockey Canada. So I see quite a few of our alums at those camps and our current players too. But like you said, it's not just our program. It's a lot of, ECAC teams. And that's why you're seeing our league so high within the rankings and just it's a grind every night, and I'm sure every coach that comes on this says the same thing. We talk to each other all the time, and we're just like, well, man, our league's going to be tough, but I'm not sure there's one coach that wouldn't want it that way. We always talk about how we think we have the strongest league in the country from top to bottom, and I think you're seeing a lot of that play out this year and in years past, with us, with the ECAC being able to put some teams in the NCAA tournament. And, we have quite a few teams ranked in the top 15 this year. And, I think it's great for the players too. They want to compete. They want to be out there. They want to be playing against the best. And they know that, when it comes league time, it's going to be tough. And I think that's something that's really important to the growth and development of each of the teams, but also the individual players. And I think that's why you're seeing a lot of ECAC players move on to that next levels because, they're playing tough teams and tough players each and every night. And that kind of prepares them for that next level.
And how do you, dialing it back to this season, how do you keep things in perspective where you could go into a weekend and play really well, right, and lose 2 1-goal games against top 10 nationally ranked teams, come out of it 0-2, and say, man, we were really good. We don't have a lot of things to fix. We just didn't beat a team that's that good, that's as good as we are. How does that stay balanced, and how do you avoid really the frustration, or do you not avoid it? Does it just come when flows?
It obviously ebbs and flows, but I think it's more about, the conversations that you're having with the team. For us, it's more about just focusing on, our process and how we're playing and that. And anything can happen in a game. And if you go out there and you play your best hockey and another team just happens to beat you, then, at least you can be satisfied with, what, hey, we put up a good fight. We played our best hockey. They were just better than us tonight. It's more so when you have those games where you go into and you don't put up your best fight, you're not putting your best foot forward. That's when, championship teams and coaches and that's when they get frustrated. But even having those close losses, even if you're playing your best games and you're losing to some of the top teams, you always learn from that too. You understand what it takes to really get to that, national championship level. And, being able to play those teams night in and night out, like that's what really prepares you come postseason time. So for us, it's more about how we're playing. It's not necessarily about the wins and losses and what that looks like. It's just, make sure that we're playing our best hockey come the end of the year. Make sure that we're putting our selves in a position to, get into the postseason and hopefully make the NCAA tournament, because as soon as you do that, anything can happen.
Well, Coach, I appreciate the time. And my last question, I assume as a father of three with a child born during the hockey season, you're a coffee drinker. How do you take your coffee?
I'm actually not a coffee drinker.
Wow, I
I know. Can
respect
you
it.
believe that?
It's
I know.
incredible.
I don't like the taste of coffee. I've never been a coffee drinker. I think my wife drinks enough for the two of us anyways.
Secondhand caffeine. Yeah.
Yeah, secondhand caffeine. But yeah, I've never been a coffee drinker. Everyone's always amazed by that.
That's good. The energy's raw then. That's you can't teach that.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes not, depending on how late the night was or something like that, if I'm up with the baby. But try and keep the energy, like you said, as raw as possible.
Oh, I know we have coaches in the league that'll drink enough for you to make up for it. So I think we're
Yeah.
covered as the ECAC goes. But once again, thanks for joining us. And Clarkson, on a break until January 6th, but a month to prepare for a nationally ranked matchup against Yale at Shield Arena. Yale and Brown coming into Potsdam that weekend, the 6th and 7th. And both of those games, as well as all ECAC hockey home games, can be seen on ESPN Plus in the United States and on Stretch Internet across the globe. Coach, thanks again for your time.
All right, Nick, appreciate it. Thank you.